This video covers how to calculate the daily historical return for a company using data that has been downloaded from Yahoo Finance. If you don't know how to download historical data for a company from Yahoo Finance, please see the prior video. So I have all of my information in Excel from what I have downloaded from Yahoo Finance. And I just want to first start by talking about this green text box over here, which outlines the steps I'm going to do. What I'm trying to accomplish is going to be calculating the daily returns for the Walt Disney Company using data that I've downloaded from Yahoo Finance. So if you see the DIS, this is going to be the ticker for Disney, and this is going to be the data that I directly downloaded from Yahoo Finance. The first steps that I'm going to do is to keep only the information that I need. So for my purposes, I just want the date and the adjusted close for the Walt Disney Company. And from those two items, I'll be able to calculate the daily historical returns. When I'm calculating the daily historical returns, I'm going to be using this formula. So I will be doing the newest price minus the older price divided by the older price to get myself a daily percentage return. There are other formulas that you can use to calculate these daily returns. Here we're just going to keep with this simple kind of approach. Lastly, we are going to apply some simple formatting to the Excel file before ending the video. So step one is going to be, I want to keep only the information that I need. When I look at the information that has been downloaded from Yahoo Finance, I have a bunch of informations with several columns. So the first column is going to be the date. What this means is I have numerous dates, so starting with January 2nd, 2015, and if you looked at my prior video, the data is going to end December 29th, 2017. Every day, I'm going to have multiple variables. So in column B, I'm going to have the open price for that Walt Disney Company on that day. I have the high price, the low price, the close, and the adjusted close. The final column is going to be the volume. The only variables that I'm going to care about, or the variable that I'm going to use to calculate my daily returns, is going to be this adjusted close. So the adjusted close is going to be the price that's been adjusted for any stock splits or dividend distributions. I also want to keep the dates so I have a time reference for my return observations. That means I'm going to need to delete these columns here, so B through E, and my current column G. How do I do that? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the column. So if you see how it makes the little arrow, I'll click down, and that's going to select an entire column for me. I'm actually going to click and hold all the way over to column E. It's going to select all the columns B through E. At that point, I can kind of release my mouse, move it around, but I want to right click, and there's going to be a delete here. So this is going to allow me to delete all the columns directly from the workbook. I'm also going to delete column C because, again, I don't need the volume data, so I'll click on the column, right click to get this to pop up, and hit delete. There's other ways to delete entire columns. You can use the ribbon, you can use shortcuts, but in case you're not familiar with Excel, I think this is probably the easiest kind of introductory way of doing that. Now before I go and calculate my daily returns, there's one other formatting thing I want to do. For my purposes, I want to start where I have the newest or most recent date at the top and the oldest date at the bottom. So I want to sort my data. How I'm going to do this is I'll want to select all of my dates so I can click and hold my mouse down. For me, I think it's a bit simpler if I hit Control Shift. So I clicked on cell A2, hit Control Shift, and then the down arrow. So they'll all be at the same time. That selects all of the dates. I now can go up here and hit Sort. And I want to sort newest to oldest. The last thing you want to be aware of is if you're sorting your data, you always want to be sure to expand the section. That means that it's going to keep this price, so the $87.89, with the January 1st, 2015. Again, that's very important. Sorting is also important because sometimes Yahoo Finance will keep all the important information that you need, but it will jumble the dates. And so I just wanted to show this sorting in case this happened to you when you did download your data. So I'm going to sort it. Perfect. I now have December 29th, 2017 as the top of my file. And if I remember back down, I have that January 2nd, 2015, the 87.89 at the bottom. All right, now we can move on to our step 2, which is going to be calculating those daily returns. I'm going to do this in column C, and the first thing I'm going to want to do is label this column. So I want the return is going to be what I'm finding. You could call it daily return, you could call it daily rep. And now I'm going to apply this formula to my data here. This is kind of the part where you really have to make sure you pay attention in two regards. So the first thing is going to be, how do I type this into the cell? Anytime you're applying a given formula in Excel, the first thing you want to do is an equal sign. So the equal sign is going to say, hey Excel, I'm doing something, I'm putting a formula in here, and it's going to know that you're kind of applying this to this cell. The next thing that you want to be careful with is it's new minus old divided by old. Which of these two is newer? So I have a December 29th, 2017, and I have December 28th, 2017. The newer one is going to be the 29th. That one happened more recently. So that's going to be my new price. This is going to be my older price. Again, we're doing daily returns, so I just need the day-to-day changes. Lastly, when I'm putting in this formula, you want to make sure to include these parentheses. The reason for this is you want to make sure Excel follows the proper order of operations. So you want to subtract the old price from the new price prior to dividing by the old price. So there are a couple other formulas or variations of this formula that could be used. We're just kind of sticking with this one because I think it's the most simple and most straightforward to see what's happening. So open parentheses, we have our equal sign, hey Excel, I'm doing a formula, open parentheses for this numerator. Again, I want the newer price, so December 29th is newer than the 28th was. So I have my new, I'll subtract the older price, so 1 day prior, my old, and I'm going to divide by old. Again, make sure it is new minus old and then close parentheses divided by old. I can then hit enter, and that's going to be my percent return or my percentage return. The number is going to be pretty small because we're dealing with daily returns. Lastly, these are percentage returns, so if you want to apply some formatting right now to kind of start, we can hit the percent formatting. And we'll want to add some decimals because, again, it's pretty small. So we have a 0.24% return over that day. Now I want to have this happen for all of my other observations. So I'm just going to do one more example here. So just to remember and make sure we're all on the same page. So I have equal sign anytime I want to do a formula, open parentheses. My new in this case is going to be December 28th. So now I want to find the returns over this day minus the prior day, which would be my old, divided by old. So here, what is going on again is going to be, for this one, I have my new price minus my old price divided by my old price. For the prior day, the daily return was this new price minus the old price divided by the old price. So each day, returns are going to shift kind of down one spot. So as I move down returns, the days that it's referencing, the new day and the old day, are going to move down with it. This is important because it means I'm using relative reference as I move the data down. The reason we care about this is that we can then copy and paste this information and carry it through for all of our data. We don't have to retype this formula over and over again. We'll let Excel do the work for us. So how we can do that is you can copy and paste. So I could hit Control C and then Control V and paste it down. But for me, the easiest way is to make this little T. And if you double click it, it's going to fill everything in. So if we look at December 22nd, 2017, I have my new price minus my old price divided by my old price. So it took the formula and applied it all the way down for us. Let's look what's going on at the bottom. So my formula is still working great. So I have, say, for example, on January 12th, 2015, my new price for that date minus the old price divided by the old, and my percent daily return is going to be here. The last cell, though, has something weird happening. So it has this divide zero error. The reason is there's no data below. So when I do my new minus old divided by old, this is blank, so it's viewing it as a zero. You can't divide by zero, so you're getting an error. Since we don't have the data for the day prior, we're just going to delete this because we don't care about that percentage return. Lastly, I want to apply some formatting to my data. So I want to take kind of this formatting and I'm going to apply it all the way below. So just as a reminder, what I did is I can first select all the data. So Control Shift down arrow is going to select all of that. I can then go here and hit percent, and I can add some decimals. So we'll go with 2 decimals to keep it consistent. And those are going to give me my daily percentage returns. The last thing I want to point out, so if you're only trying to get the daily returns, I think you're pretty good in this point. You might want to add some titles, make sure you know it's Disney company, but those are going to be our daily returns. The last thing I just want to touch on is going to be potential errors that you could have. So the most common error that I would see is going to be if you did for this first daily return, = new minus old divided by old. So I have my formula from right here and I hit enter. Now I'm getting 104.18. I should be getting negative 2.4%. So why is this number different? What did I do wrong? So the most common error is going to be forgetting those parentheses in your numerator in the top part. So here what I did is I took 105.18 minus 105 divided by 105, or 105 and change. So it's basically taking this first number minus 1 because it's going to follow, again, the order of operations. It'll do that division first. So the easiest mistake I'll see is, again, going to be forgetting those parentheses. Once I apply my formatting, again, it's going to give me the same answer as before. So just a helpful tip, don't forget the parentheses in the numerator, and hopefully you're good to go.